channel. I'm back to break down this 15-game MLB DFS slate on DraftKings and FanDuel. Before we get into the breakdown, if you do enjoy the content at any point in this video, if you could please take a moment to leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell, that would be greatly appreciated. I'll be here all MLB DFS season long, breaking down these MLB DFS slates to help you guys become better MLB DFS players. Hope you guys win some money night in and night out. That's the goal. If you can hit that like button, it does help me in a great way to show me some support. Aiming for 50 likes per video now. If we can get there, that would be great, guys. Thank you for all the support. We continue to grow on the channel. I'm looking forward to continuing to provide you with plenty of value. We have a big slate today, so excited to get into it. We should have plenty of options to target as far as pitching, plenty of options to target as far as bats. Don't forget to stay tuned to the end of the video for my home run call of the day, fan favorite segment on this channel, looking for the guy that's going to go deep. And lastly, if you are interested and you're getting really serious about MLB DFS, I would highly recommend my MLB DFS premium package. It's linked below in the description. You get access to all the same tools that I use when building my own MLB DFS lineups. Things like my starting pitcher data sheet, high hitter, StatCast data, splits data, board teaming data, bullpen data, power rankings, and my cheat sheet. So with that being said, let's go to start breaking down this slate. As always, we're going to figure out the pitchers we want to play first, and then we'll get into bats on the second half. And I like to do that by sorting my sheet by K rate. It's fantasy sports. We get points for strikeouts. As you can see, there's two guys with no data. That's because they have less than a 10 innings pitch sample size, so I went ahead and made sure their data wasn't skewing any numbers here, because if it's less than 10 innings pitch, let's be quite frank, that's not really much to deal with here. So Justin Steele, top guy on the slate as far as K rate. Only a 13 innings pitch sample size, but he does have a 37.5% K overall, a 14.2 swinging strike rate, 34.4% K rate against righties, and a 41.7% K rate against lefties. That is just tremendous stuff, and he's taking on a Milwaukee squad tonight that strikes out a bunch. As far as the weather in the ballpark and all that stuff is concerned, pulling up the game here. So quick correction, my apologies. On DraftKings, this game will be featured. On FanDuel, this game will not. So as far as the doubleheaders on the slate today, the Chicago-Milwaukee game is going to be the second half of a doubleheader, and the Blue Jays-Angels game is going to be the second half of a doubleheader. So a little bit of a disclaimer there for you guys. That game will be featured over here on DraftKings. As far as Steele stuff and his ability so far, we've seen him go out there and throw like around 30 pitches maximum per game, so probably not going to be the top option for you to be going to, although his numbers look very good on the spreadsheet. It's going to be more of a bullpen arm, so don't worry about playing him really. We have Max Scherzer taking on the Philadelphia Phillies, which we've seen has been striking out a lot on the season, a 34.5% K overall, a 16% swinging strike rate. That's second best on the slate, but Carrasco's the top guy with only an 8 innings pitch sample size, so Scherzer's definitely the top guy. 36.4% K rate against righties and a 32.6% K rate against lefties. Really, really good stuff. As mentioned, he's taken on Philadelphia's squad that strikes out a bunch. And then when you factor in that he is now on the Los Angeles Dodgers, you know, he should expect to get plenty of run support anytime he takes the bump. They have to take on Aaron Nola, which is a little bit unfortunate. You know, that's not the best ideal matchup, but they still have a 4.48 implied run total. Max Scherzer is still a 167 favorite. And as mentioned, the Philadelphia Phillies have been striking out a bunch. Unfortunately, it's in Philadelphia, which is a great hitting ballpark, so that's not good for Scherzer. It's 87 degrees with 5-mile-an-hour winds blowing out, so very good hitting weather, as opposed to the good pitching weather we prefer when targeting him. But still, Max Scherzer, definitely top guy on the slate, definitely the guy you got to have plenty of interest in. Threw 109 pitches last time out, 10 Ks, 7 innings pitch, only 200 runs. And yeah, top option on the slate for sure. We have Sonny Gray taking on the Atlanta Braves, another team that does strike out quite a bit, but not exactly the easiest matchup in the world, of course. But a 29.1% K overall, a 24.9% K rate against righties, and a 33.5% K rate against lefties. Sonny Gray has been getting the job done all year long. And when we're looking at the Vegas data, the Atlanta Braves do have a 4.75 implied run total, so that kind of scares us off Sonny Gray a little bit, I would say. I mean, that's obviously less than ideal. That's pushing 5 runs. And he's priced at 9.2 on FanDuel. Over on DraftKings, I have him priced at 10.3. As far as his recent performances, 7 Ks the last 2 times out with 1 and 4 earned runs, right around the 95 to 98 pitch mark. So I'd say he's a bit of a high-risk, high-upside option for sure. I mean, it's less than ideal, of course, targeting these Atlanta Braves, but the guy does have really, really good stuff against both sides. I guess a good disclaimer would be that he does strike out lefties a lot more than righties, as mentioned. So the Atlanta Braves are starting to become more left-handed heavy with the addition of Jock Peterson. They got Steven Vogt in there now, Ozzie Albies, Freddie Freeman, but they still do have quite a few righties. And as mentioned, you know, I think Sonny Gray is just going to be high risk, high upside. And the same is going to apply for the next guy we're talking about, Eduardo Rodriguez, taking on the Tampa Bay Rays. Their team we've been targeting with left-handed pitching all season long, but they've made some really big trades that have made their lineup much more dangerous against lefties. Rodriguez comes in with a 28.9% K overall, a 28.5% K rate against righties, a 30.3% K rate against lefties, and he does give up quite a bit of hard contact. So Bit of a hit or miss guy. It's in Fenway. He's 123 favorite. The Rays have a 4.6 implied run total, so he's still expected to, go and handle business. As far as the run line, they have a lesser total than the Atlanta Braves did, and who we just talked about with Sonny Gray. So another guy that you could look at too as a high-risk, high-upside option that doesn't have the best matchup. We're going to talk about some guys that have some better matchups as we go along here. I think that's going to make a big difference for us. Another guy that doesn't have a good matchup is Aaron Nola. I mean, the Dodgers, we had mentioned, not exactly the best matchup. He's another going to be a high upside, high risk option because he does have the good stuff as 28.7% carried overall, 28.3% carried against righties, and a 29.2% carried against lefties. Does a pretty good job of ground ball, fly ball stuff across the board, hard contact, slugging. And the problem is that the matchup. The Dodgers lineup is absolutely stacked. If you want to play Aaron Nola, you definitely can in tournaments. I'm not going to be the one to say that you're crazy, but you know the risk that you're taking. That's going to be kind of the same with all these guys that are in a little bit less than ideal matchup. That's why I think Scherzer really stands out ahead of the pack here, out of everyone we talked about so far. Trevor Rogers taking on the San Diego Padres. He's a guy that's always limited on his pitch count. He doesn't really have the longest leash, and the Padres just really don't strike out, so it's probably going to be a no for me when we have such a big slate. Logan Gilbert's the next guy I'm getting really excited to target due to the matchup and his K upside, a 28.2% K overall, a 13.2 swing strike rate, 31.1% carried against righties, and a 25.5% carried against lefties. Really good K stuff, and these Texas Rangers lineup is not looking good these days. Really ugly on paper, and definitely a lineup that I am not afraid to target when we have a guy like Logan Gilbert. It's in Seattle as well, which is a great pitching ballpark. If it was compared to Texas, I'd have a lot less interest. The fact that it's in Seattle makes me have even more interest. He's a 215 favorite, very heavy favorite on this game today. 8-9 on FanDuel. Over on DraftKings, they have a price at 9-6. And I think he's going to be a great option. The last two times out, 6 Ks, 3 earned runs, 4 earned runs. Not the greatest performances. Last time against Texas, he did have 6 Ks, 4 earned runs, over 5.2 innings pitched, 90 pitches. That was in Texas, so I expect that he could maybe have an even better performance here. I'm definitely going to have a lot of interest in Logan Gilbert with the matchup and his K upside. It's making a lot of sense today. I would say the same for Tristan McKenzie. It's going to be a little bit more of a wild card play because he doesn't do nearly as good of a job as keeping the ball on the ground and that kind of thing, but does have a 27.4% carry overall, a 29.1% carried against righties, and a 25.5% carried against lefties, and he's taking on an Oakland squad tonight that is very right-handed heavy. So when you're factoring all of that stuff, he is going to make quite a bit of sense here. At the same time, the A's have a 5.24 implied run total. It's 12 mile-an-hour winds blowing out the straightaway center. It's 87 degrees in Cleveland, so that's scary. We might be more interested in the bats and the pitching in this one, with that being said. But McKenzie is going to be a high-risk, high-upside option that you can be looking to. And then as we go along here, we have Sean Manaea taking on the Cleveland Indians in that same game that I would typically think I would want to target him because the Cleveland Indians have been striking a bunch. The weather is less than ideal, but if they're not touching the ball and he's striking these guys out, we don't have to worry about that. And I do think that Sean Manaea could go out there and have a good game as far as his recent performances and how he's been faring as of late. Last few games out, he's had 4 Ks, 9 Ks, 13 Ks, and over that span, it's been around 90 to 106 pitches. Last time out, 5 earned runs against a good San Diego offense, though. He got blown up that one game, but has been showing some really good K upside stuff, and I think the Sean Manaea is definitely a great option today. The weather's a little scary, but again, we're aiming for him to be striking these guys out and for them to not even be putting their bat on the ball, so it's going to make some sense there. Alex Wood taking on Arizona, another team that really just doesn't scare us with a 25.1% K overall for Alex Wood. Good ground ball, fly ball stuff. A 25.8% carried against righties and a 22.4% carried against lefties. Not the highest K rate in the world, but when you're taking on an Arizona squad that I had mentioned just really doesn't scare us, and it's in San Francisco, which is a great pitching ballpark. I think Alex Wood is going to definitely be a viable option tonight. As far as his pitch count and all that stuff, as of late, where he's trending, he has been working himself back from a lower pitch count. We had around 68 pitches, but it was a 4-run game, and then he was up to 80, another 4-run game against the same Arizona team. It was in Arizona, though, so hopefully going back to San Francisco could help him in a big way, and he could have another big game here. I think he's definitely in a good spot. Then as we go along, honestly, things start to get pretty not interesting pretty quick here. I mean, I'm not really looking to target any of these guys down here. Keegan Aiken against Detroit. Detroit's the team that we've been loving to target. Casey Mize against Baltimore, but both of those guys kind of have their own issues and not the best stuff in the world. I mean, I do think that both of them are going to be viable due to their opponents, but I mean, when you're looking at the implied run totals of this team, we have a 5.25 implied run total for both sides. So not getting all too excited there. So with that being said, let's go ahead and transition over to bats. As always, I like to go ahead and start my sheet by Sierra. Worst to best skill and our active ERA. It's a good way of determining how good a pitcher's been so far in the year and how good he's expected to be in the future. And the worst pitcher on the slate today is going to be Rice Knar. I don't know how to pronounce that name, but he is going to be the long reliever for Miami's opponent today. As far as the expected run total for Miami against San Diego, there are no lines out quite yet. I'd expect Miami not to have the greatest run total, to be honest, though. I mean, they're really just not that good of a team at this point. They traded off pretty much all of their valuable assets. If we find that the Miami Marlins have a pretty decent implied Vegas total, I would take that pretty seriously, to be honest, because, I mean, this guy is expected to not really be the greatest long reliever. It is a limited sample size, though, so maybe not getting too excited, but something to take note of, I guess. Definitely not going to be the top stack on the slate, I can guarantee you that, but Griffin Jack's taking on the Chicago White Sox. He's been terrible all season long. Ground ball, fly ball stuff's terrible. Hard contact stuff's terrible. A 597 slugging up to righties. Against lefties, he actually has been very effective, showing some serious reverse splits issues, so the Chicago White Sox righties are going to be great plays today. The Minnesota bullpen's also terrible. It's 86 degrees with 9-mile-an-hour winds blowing out in Minnesota today. Everything kind of lines up for the White Sox to have a big night. Tim Anderson, Cesar Hernandez, Jose Abreu, Eloy Jimenez, Yohan Moncada, Brian Goodwin, Luis Robert. This lineup's starting to get healthy too. Everything's coming together here. And then, as mentioned, once they get past Jax, the Minnesota bullpen is terrible as well. So the Chicago White Sox stack definitely making some sense. We have Daniel Lynch taking on the New York Yankees. Ground ball, fly ball stuff is not good. Hard contact stuff is not good. He's a 490 slugging to righties and a 429 slugging to lefties. Another guy that is much better against left-handed hitting. He is a left-hander hurler himself, so really looking to target the Yankees righties, but the Kansas City Royals bullpen is also a bullpen that we like to target. So 92 degrees, 10-mile-an-hour winds blowing out. Although Lynch has been good against lefties, can definitely continue to target Joey Gallo. Anthony Rizzo is going to be temporarily out of the lineup because of COVID-19 protocols, unfortunately, but that means Luke Voigt's going to be another right-handed bat in there that rakes off lefties, so that could be good for us on this stack tonight. So DJ LeMahieu, Aaron Judge, Joey Gallo, Giancarlo Stanton, Luke Voigt, Rougned Odor, Kyle Higashioka is good against lefties, Jonathan Davis good against lefties, and then you got Andrew Velasquez to round things out. Definitely a good stack tonight. J.A. Happ taking on Pittsburgh, a guy that's been terrible against right-handed power all season long. Really bad. A 585 slugging giving up. 398 WOBA, 17% K rate. Really prefer to target him with some right-handed power. The problem is it's in Pittsburgh. It's not a good hitting ballpark, and the Pittsburgh Pirates just really don't have right-handed power, really, for the most part. I mean, Key Brian Hayes in the 2 spot. It's going to be a great play. He can definitely rake. You got Brian Reynolds. Jacob Stallings is good for a catcher, but overall just really not the most powerful lineup in the world, so that's going to limit my appeal a little bit. We had mentioned Tristan McKenzie's K rate, but also his hard contact issues, giving up a lot of hard contact with a 434 slugging given up to righties. 392 slugging given up to lefties. We can definitely target some Oakland Athletics bats tonight. They've been definitely getting a little bit hotter. And, some big additions that have been improving their lineup with guys like Yan Gomes in the center of the order, Starling Marte now at the top. They got Josh Harrison, Seth Brown continues to be at the bottom of this lineup. So it's a lineup that's pretty well-rounded. There's plenty of power to go up and down, and it's definitely one that we could be targeting today with a 5.24 implied run total, and Cleveland is also a team where we're not worried about the bullpen. Not worried about the bullpen. Great hitting conditions. Oakland's on the road. They get that guaranteed 9th inning at bat, and they're definitely a stack you can be going to today for sure. Dallas Keuchel in that same Minnesota game does a good job keeping the ball on the ground, good ground ball, fly ball stuff. But if you look at the implied run totals, he's expected to not exactly have the greatest performance against this Minnesota squad tonight that does hit left-handed pitching very well, with guys like Jorge Polanco, Brent Rooker, Josh Donaldson, Mitch Garver, Robert Refsnyder, Miguel Sano, Asadillo. They're definitely starting to look like a lineup that can definitely rake off lefties. They have been all season long. I mean, no Nelson Cruz is going to hurt them a little bit, but when you're looking at Dallas Keuchel's recent performances, how he's been faring, you could see 2, 5, 4 earned runs. It's not against like the strongest opponents, Cleveland, Kansas City. So Keuchel, although good in the past, keeping the ball on the ground, is a guy that I think we can be targeting here. So Minnesota might make some sense as a stack for you today. We have Drew Smyly taking on the Cincinnati Reds. He's been pretty bad across the board as far as ground ball, fly ball, hard contact stuff, with a 453 slugging given up to righties, a 520 slugging given up to lefties, and a Cincinnati team that's getting very healthy, a Cincinnati team that's very dangerous on paper. And they have a 4.75 implied run total, and the Atlanta Braves bullpen is bad. So we have a lot of these stacks where, maybe the starting pitcher isn't the most ideal matchup in the world, but at the same time, the bullpen's bad, so we're getting kind of excited about that. Jonathan India, Jesse Winker, Nick Castellanos, Joey Votto, Tyler Stevenson, Kyle Farmer, Eugenio Suarez, Aristides Aquino. Plenty of talent up and down this lineup that can rake off lefties. Plenty of talent that can go lefty as well. So Drew Smyly, not a guy we're afraid to target. And of course, you want to get to that bullpen. Keegan Akin, we can target the Detroit Tigers at a low on stack as well. He's just really not good. A 5.10 slugging unit to righties, a 5.38 slugging unit to the lefties. I mean, I know the Detroit Tigers don't have the most talented lineup in the world, but when you're factoring in how bad their opponent is, the Baltimore Orioles bullpen isn't good. The Detroit bullpen isn't good in this game. We've got another very stackable situation with a guy like Robbie Grossman at the top. He's quietly been one of the hottest hitters all season long. Jonathan Scope, Miguel Cabrera, Eric Haas, Heimer Candelario, Nico Goodrum, Victor Reyes. Can definitely stack this lineup, and the same rule is going to apply on the other side for the Orioles. I can tell you right now with Mize, you want to target the lefties. So Cedric Mullins, Anthony Santander, DJ Stewart going to be my favorite options. And then, of course, when we get to that Detroit bullpen, those righties can come through for you as well. Jake Odorizzi taking on the Colorado Rockies. Colorado Rockies really not the best lineup in the world looking at the Vegas totals right now. They have a 3.64 implied run total. While Odorizzi does give up a lot of hard contact, it's not like we're getting most excited to target the Rockies, but that could be a good low on stack for that reason. Maybe a 451 slugging unit to righties, a 472 slugging unit to lefties for Odorizzi. Really not good. And maybe the Rockies can actually take advantage here at low ownership. So Charlie Blackmon, Brendan Rodgers, Trevor Story, Ryan McMahon, CJ Cron, Sam Hilliard, Garrett Hampson, Dom Nunez. I mean, they do have some guys that can rake in the middle of this order. It's really a strikeout issue. Odorizzi hasn't really been striking out too many people. Maybe the Rockies could be a really good low on stack. So I wouldn't call you crazy. Not my favorite stack on the slate, but maybe can make some sense. We have a New York Mets team that's starting to get really healthy, in a good matchup here, taking on Puello Espino and a bad Washington bullpen. A 483 slugging up to the righties, a 386 slugging to the lefties. Really has been a lot worse against righties, but overall, the Mets are expected to go out there and get the job done and score a lot of runs in this one. It's in New York, which is a little bit less than ideal because the ballpark is not the friendliest of confines. But with that being said, Brandon Nimmo, Jeff McNeil, Pete Alonso, Dominic Smith, J.D. Davis, Michael Conforto, Jonathan Villar. This lineup is starting to look very filled out and definitely a stack they'd be going to. I wish it was in Washington, not in New York, but regardless, going to be viable. We have John Gray taking on Houston. Houston has a good implied run total today with a 423 slugging unit to righties for John Gray, 354 slugging to lefties. Honestly, I tend to think John Gray could have a pretty decent performance here. I think the 4.86 implied run total is more so a reflection on the Colorado Rockies bullpen because they have one of the worst in the league. So with that being said, maybe you could take advantage and to get Houston lower on than you typically would with guys like Jose Altuve, Michael Brantley, Carlos Correa, Yordan Alvarez, Kyle Tucker, Chas McCormick, Taylor Jones at the bottom line have a bunch of power. Maybe they're able to get things going later on in the game, maybe early in the game, hopefully, of course, and really blow up this Colorado Rockies pitching staff today. And then once we get down past them, things start to get, not quite as friendly as far as targeting matchups here. Just looking at some guys or some teams in some friendly spots. We do have the Seattle Mariners taking on Colby Allard. That's a left-handed hurler. And they definitely have some guys that are talented against left-handed pitching. So you could be looking to target the Seattle Mariners today. Guy that you really want to target with right-handed power, a 443 slugging unit to right-handed hitting for Colby Allard. And when you're looking at the Seattle lineup, Mitch Haniger rakes lefties, Ty France, Abraham Toro, Tom Murphy, Luis Torrens, both catchers that rake lefties. And you got Dylan Moore at the bottom who also rakes lefties. So I don't know whether Seattle's going to garner a bunch of ownership. They may, but if they don't, they could definitely be a sneakier stack that you could be looking to today. And that's a pretty good, well-rounded breakdown of this slate today. As far as if I was going to target any other teams, I guess you could really be looking to the Boston-Tampa Bay Rays game. That'd be the last one I'm looking to target in Fenway. Both of these lineups very good up and down. Less than ideal matchups for them as far as the opponent pitching, but with how deep their lineups are, they could definitely be going off. Those would be the last teams I'm really looking to target. Everyone else that I've been interested in, we've kind of covered. You could play the Dodgers against Aaron Nola as well. Very talented lineup, although Nola isn't an ideal matchup. And that's where we'd round things out here. So with that being said, before I let you guys go, I got to give you my home run call of the day. Let's get into it. And my home run call of the day today is going to be Jose Abreu taking on Griffin Jax. We had mentioned his hard contact issues against right-handed hitting, have seen some serious issues throughout the season, taking on righties with a 597 slugging unit with a 38.1% hard contact rate. This game's going to be played in Minnesota against that terrible Minnesota bullpen for this Chicago White Sox squad. I had mentioned liking this stack overall. and Jose Abreu is right in the center of it. A bat that you might have to pay up a little bit for on these websites today, but one that's going to be well worth it when looking at what Jax relies on, most notably really reliant on the fastball. Right around a 92-mile-an-hour fastball, and Jose Abreu absolutely mashes that pitch. A 317 ISO with a 412 WOBA. And if Jax doesn't give up the home run to Jose Abreu, I think he's going to have plenty of opportunity against the bullpen to do the same damage. Maybe chance for 2, maybe even 3 home runs. Love this spot for Jose Abreu. Get him in your lineup because he is my home run call of the day. So there you have it, guys. Jose Abreu. Get him in your lineups. And that is all from me in this one. If you did enjoy the content, if you could please take a moment to leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, that would be greatly appreciated. Try to get that 50 likes. Do greatly appreciate it, guys. I wish you guys all the best of luck tonight, and we will see you in the next one.